When I finally decided to delete QTZ Bunny from my contacts, my finger hovered over the glowing screen for 3 agonizing minutes. 3 months, 92 days, 2,208 messages, $4,000 down the drain. I took a deep breath, tapped delete, hit block, and watched the screen go pitch black. But the exact second I pressed it, the doorbell rang. And this wasn't your normal friendly chime. It was one of those old-school electric buzzers, a sharp, frantic, hysterical screech that completely shattered the dead silence of 2 a.m. My entire body went rigid. I live in a rundown, old apartment building. There's no security gate, no building management, and the motion-activated hallway lights have been busted for 2 weeks. Oh, and the doorbell wiring? That rotted out 3 years ago. Management kept promising to fix it, but shocker, they never did. This buzzer shouldn't even be capable of making a sound unless someone was standing right outside my door. Unless someone was using a piece of metal to directly short-circuit the exposed wires. Heart-pounding, I crept over to the peephole and looked out. The hallway was pitch black, but a faint, eerie glow rimmed the edge of the peephole. It looked exactly like the cold blue light of a smartphone screen. I held my breath. Then, the light shifted. A face pressed right up against the glass. I recoiled in pure terror, slamming my back into the entryway cabinet with a massive, echoing thud. That face, it was upside down. Wait, no, it wasn't upside down at all. The person out there was crouching, holding their phone right beneath their chin, lighting up their features from the bottom up like a ghost story. Long, messy hair hung down, hiding most of her face and leaving only a single eye visible. And man, that eye. Magnified through the distorted lens of the peephole, it was impossibly dark. It was staring straight at me, locking dead onto my line of sight. Babe, her voice filtered through the heavy door. It was muffled, but you could hear the twisted smile in it. I missed you so much. My throat tightened. I had been listening to this exact voice for 3 months. I was used to her whispering cute, playful goodnights during our late-night voice calls. She always sounded so incredibly sweet and adorable in her voice notes, playfully pretending to be mad at me. Back then, it felt perfect. But now, that same sweet voice was pressed right against my apartment door at 2 in the morning, saying she missed me. How did you find this place? I managed to choke out, my voice trembling. Did you forget, babe? The giant eye blinked through the peephole. Last month, when you said you were working late, I asked you to send me your location, just to make sure you were actually at the office. You sent it, and I saved it. Then, it hit me like a truck. That was the one and only time our online romance ever crossed into the real world. At the time, I honestly thought it was sweet, a sign that she cared enough to check in. Then, I just used Google Street View to find the exact building, she added brightly. The voice outside kept going. I spent 2 whole weeks watching your routine. You leave every morning at 7:05 and take the left stairs, because the dog on the 3rd floor right side is super aggressive. The time you come home at night varies a bit. But on Wednesdays and Fridays, you always bring back convenience store rice balls. Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's a bento box. And on Mondays and weekends, you order takeout. The blood in my veins turned to absolute ice. You've been stalking me, I whispered. It's not stalking. It's just getting to know you. Her voice suddenly sounded genuinely hurt. I just wanted to know everything about you. Babe. We're broken up, I yelled back. That's just your side of it, babe, she replied, the eye curving into a sick smile. I never agreed to it. I stared blindly at the door, my mind racing a mile a minute. Call the cops! But my phone was all the way over on the living room couch. Run! But I'm on the 6th floor. There is nothing but solid, unforgiving concrete directly beneath my windows. And me? I'm just a weak, office-dwelling programmer. I had absolutely no idea what kind of psycho was standing out there. 3 months of dating online, and I didn't even know her real name. Open the door, babe. Her voice suddenly softened, like she was gently soothing a toddler. It's so incredibly cold out here. I'm just wearing a dress. You said last time how much you loved it when I wore white sundresses. I bought this one specifically for you. Without thinking, my hand drifted toward the doorknob. My sanity was screaming at me not to open it, but 3 months of habit, a literal Pavlovian response built from countless late-night voice calls, made my fingers tremble uncontrollably. Do you promise not to hurt me? I stammered weakly. What are you even saying, babe? She chuckled softly from the hallway. How could I ever hurt you? I love you more than anything. The exact second the heavy deadbolt clicked open, a massive wave of regret flooded my system, but it was already too late. The door violently slammed open. I stumbled backward in shock, completely knocking over the shoe rack in the entryway. A white figure flashed inside, moving with a terrifying speed that honestly didn't even seem human. She slammed the door shut behind her, flipping the lock and sliding the security chain into place in one terrifyingly fluid motion. Breathing hard, I finally got a clear look at her, a flowing white sundress, long, dark hair reaching all the way down to her waist, a pale, delicate face with massive, staring eyes. She looked exactly like her pictures, yet somehow completely different. The cutesy bunny from the photos was just a sweet facade built entirely out of camera filters. In person, that sweetness was just a dangerously thin film, hiding something cold, rigid, and deeply dark lurking right underneath. "You look so much better than you do on video, babe." She tilted her head, her dark eyes locking onto mine, completely sizing me up. "Whenever we video chatted, you always looked down. I thought you were just shy. What do you actually want from me?" "What do I want?" She repeated the question, acting as if she were genuinely pondering it. Then, she pulled something out of her dress pocket. My breathing instantly stopped. It was a high-definition, glossy 6-inch photo. In it, I was sitting right at my office desk, smiling at my computer screen. In the glare reflecting off the monitor, you could clearly see a chat window with a pink bunny avatar. "Last month, on the 17th, at 3:24 p.m., she whispered, "You were talking to a coworker about me. You said, 'My girlfriend is incredibly cute.' I heard you. How? How could you possibly know that?" "I hacked into your company's security cameras," she said, completely unfazed, as if she were just making small talk about the weather. "Your IT department's firewall is as thin as paper. I originally just wanted to check out your workspace, but then I overheard that." She pressed the photo tight against her chest and closed her eyes, her expression almost devout. "You called me your girlfriend. That was the first time you ever called me that. I recorded it. I've listened to it 237 times. My back was pinned against the wall, with absolutely nowhere left to retreat. You're insane. Maybe." She opened her eyes, her pupils gleaming a deep, unsettling dark brown in the dim light. "But babe, you're the one who made me this way." She took a step closer. I caught her scent. It wasn't perfume. It was the smell of damp, rainy earth, mixed with the metallic tang of rust. It felt incredibly primal. 3 months. 3 months of being together 24 hours a day. Her voice dropped lower. "When I couldn't sleep, you stayed up with me. When I had nightmares, you comforted me. When I said I wanted to die, you told me not to leave you behind. Babe, dear, do you have any idea how much those words meant? That was just an online relationship." "An online relationship?" She laughed. The sound echoed sharply in the cramped entryway. "Babe, do you know that I haven't stepped foot outside for the past 3 months? Do you know how hard I worked to match your schedule? To completely realign my biological clock with yours? Do you know I even learned how to cook dishes from your hometown? All because you mentioned, just once, how much you loved your mom's braised pork." Her eyes were gleaming with a sickly, obsessive light. "Everything in my life was built around you. My routine, my diet, my emotions, my very existence. And then you just said, 'Let's break up,' as if you were just closing a gaming account." My throat felt bone dry. I managed to choke out, I can compensate you with money." For the first time, her expression cracked, looking deeply offended. "You think I did this for money, babe? I didn't touch a single cent from those transfers," she interrupted. "I put every single dime into a bank card. The card belongs to you." She pulled a debit card out of her other pocket and shoved it into my hand. The card felt warm, carrying her body heat. Now she took a step back. A hidden pocket was exposed beneath her skirt, and only then did I notice the faint, metallic clinking sound. She pulled out a bundle of something, handcuffs, and not a toy, either. These were heavy-duty, stainless steel, police-grade handcuffs, gleaming coldly in the dim light. "Make your choice, babe." Her voice instantly snapped back to that sweet, sugary tone, as if she were just picking out 2 flavors of ice cream. "Either I call the police right now and report you for fraud, theft, emotional manipulation, and grooming a minor to spend money on you. I just turned 17 last month. In our chat history, you literally said, 'When we finally meet, I'll take you out for drinks.' That counts as grooming, doesn't it?" My face drained of all color. "Or," she jingled the handcuffs, "we can start our relationship over, in the real world." This is false imprisonment. Yeah, she nodded. So, does that mean you're choosing option one, babe? I stared at the handcuffs, my mind racing. Call the police? She's a minor, and the chat history would look incredibly damning for me. Even if I cleared my name in the end, my career would be utterly ruined. My social death would be an absolute guarantee. But if I didn't call the police, handcuffs, an online girlfriend who was clearly mentally unhinged, what would happen to me next? I didn't even dare to imagine it. I'll count to 3, she said. 1, wait, I need time to think. 2, 3. She smiled and slipped the handcuffs back into her pocket. I knew you couldn't bear to let me go, babe. I didn't. It doesn't matter. She turned and strolled into the living room, looking as natural as if she had just walked into her own home. I brought my luggage. I'll be staying here for a while. Go get some sleep, babe. I'll take the couch. You can't do this. Oh, yes, I can. She looked back, offering a sweet, chilling smile. You'd better go to bed right now, babe. You have work tomorrow, after all. If you try to run away, or call the police, or tell anyone about this, she didn't finish the sentence. But I completely understood the look in her eyes. It wasn't a threat. She was simply stating an absolute, inevitable fact. I didn't catch a single wink of sleep that night. I just lay there in the dark, staring blankly at the ceiling, hyper-fixating on every little sound creeping in from my living room. The couch would creak every now and then. She was out there, tossing and turning. A couple of times, I heard soft footsteps creeping up to my bedroom door, pausing for a few agonizing seconds, and then walking away. By 4 a.m., I absolutely couldn't take it anymore. I crept out of bed as quietly as humanly possible and pressed my ear right up against the door. I heard breathing. She was standing right on the other side, listening to me, too. Can't sleep, babe? Her voice drifted right through the wood, laced with sick amusement. Do you want me to come in and keep you company so we can talk? I violently recoiled, scrambled back into bed, and yanked the covers completely over my head. At exactly 7 a.m., the alarm went off. I dragged myself out of the bedroom, sporting massive dark circles under my eyes, only to find a huge breakfast already laid out on the table. Congee, fried eggs, pickled veggies, and a fresh glass of soy milk. She was sitting right there at the table, completely dressed for the day. That creepy white dress was gone, swapped out for a cozy beige knit sweater and a long skirt. Her long hair was tied up in a neat, bouncy ponytail. She looked exactly like your average, totally normal college student. Good morning, babe. She flashed me a smile of pure, unadulterated innocence. I checked the transit map. It takes exactly 40 minutes by subway to get to your office. If you leave right now, you'll be perfectly on time. Make sure you finish your whole breakfast, okay? I woke up at 5 just to make this congee for you. I just stared down at the bowl of porridge, my stomach knotting up with intense nausea. What do you actually want from me? I just want to take care of you, babe. She rested her chin in her hands, happily watching me. Before, I could only text you to remind you to eat your breakfast. Now I can actually make it for you with my own 2 hands. Isn't this so nice? This is literal kidnapping. What are you even talking about, babe? She innocently tilted her head. I can leave whenever I want, but are you really going to call the cops? Are you seriously going to tell your coworkers that a strange teenage girl is shacking up in your apartment? Can you even explain to them how we actually met in the first place? She stood up and reached over just to adjust my tie. I didn't even know where the hell she had dug up a tie in my apartment. Her movements were as gentle and tender as a loving, devoted wife. Have a great day at work, babe. I'll have a hot dinner waiting for you tonight. We're having sweet and sour ribs. You mentioned last time we talked that you were totally craving them. I walked out of the apartment completely dazed, like I was sleepwalking. I was desperate to call the cops. I wanted to frantically text a buddy for backup, or just blast an SOS all over my social media feeds. But every single time my trembling finger hovered over that send button, her chilling words from last night would echo right back in my skull. I just turned 17 last month. In our chat history, you literally promised, when we finally meet up, I'll take you out for drinks. That counts as grooming, doesn't it? And the terrifying truth? I had actually said it. 3 months ago, she had casually mentioned her birthday was right around the corner, and I playfully replied that once she was legal, I'd take her out for drinks to celebrate. Now, those exact innocent words had morphed into my absolute shackles. What made my blood run even colder was that when I frantically scrolled back through our entire chat history, everything she claimed was 100% true. Those random money transfers, those late-night phone calls, those flirtatious little jokes. If anyone took a single bit of it out of context, I would look like a calculating, predatory monster, while she would look like the ultimate, innocent, traumatized, underage victim. I sat frozen in my office cubicle all damn day. I couldn't even force myself to write a single line of code. When my coworkers asked what the hell was wrong with me, I just mumbled that I was coming down with a nasty cold. At lunchtime, I practically dragged myself over to the local police station right near the office. I stood awkwardly outside the entrance for 10 agonizing minutes, but in the bitter end, I just couldn't bring myself to walk through those doors. I mean, how on earth was I supposed to even explain this mess? Excuse me, officer. My online girlfriend of 3 months just randomly showed up at my house. I had no clue she was only 17, and now she's refusing to leave my apartment while threatening to ruin my life and report me for statutory grooming. Seriously, to anyone else, that would sound exactly like a massive scumbag desperately making up pathetic excuses after getting caught red-handed. At 7:30 p.m., I dragged my heavy, exhausted feet back to my apartment. The broken hallway lights had mysteriously been fixed, and I knew damn well she was the one who fixed them. There was absolutely no light spilling out from under the door, but the doorknob felt eerily warm to the touch, a dead giveaway that she had just used it moments ago. I fumbled around and pulled out my keys, my hands violently shaking, but the very second that door swung open, the incredible, mouth-watering aroma of a home-cooked meal slammed into me. Perfectly spread out across my dining table were 3 gorgeous dishes and a steaming bowl of soup. Sweet and sour ribs, stir-fried greens, a classic tomato and egg soup, and a fluffy bowl of white rice. Then, she casually strolled out of the kitchen, wearing a cute little apron. She even had a tiny, endearing smudge of grease on her forehead. "You're home, babe," she chirped. "Go wash your hands quickly. The soup is going to get cold." The entire scene felt completely, horrifyingly normal. So aggressively normal that it chilled me to the bone. I stood completely frozen in the entryway. "What's wrong?" What's your actual name?" I finally managed to rip the desperate question out of my throat. Her real name. She paused for a brief, tense moment, and then she just smiled. For the first time, that sickeningly sweet, artificial mask shattered, replaced by a truly genuine smile. "Evelyn," she murmured, her tone shifting. "You can call me Evelyn, babe, just like the good old days." "Evelyn," I echoed, the familiar name hitting me hard. Without missing a single beat, she closed the distance, smoothly slipping my heavy briefcase from my tired hands and hanging it by the door like she still belonged here. "I looked you up. Your name is Ethan, 24 years old, a programmer. You make $18,000 a month. Your rent is $3,500, and you have $67,000 in savings. Your parents live out of state. You call them once a month. The last time you went home was last Christmas." She paused, tilting her head up to look at me, her eyes shining with a clear, amber hue under the hallway lights. "I also know you have chronic gastritis, so you can't eat anything too spicy. You have an old injury on your left knee that flares up whenever it rains. You like to sleep on your right side, even though it's bad for your heart." "Enough." I cut her off. Evelyn blinked, looking incredibly hurt. "I just wanted to understand you, babe. This is a total invasion of privacy. What about you then, babe?" Her voice suddenly turned ice cold. "When you asked me what color underwear I was wearing online, why didn't you care about privacy then?" My face instantly flushed bright red. That was different. That was between a couple. Aren't we still a couple now? "I blocked you. I told you we're broken up. And I told you. I never agreed to it." She took a step forward, staring intently straight into my eyes. Up close, her pupils looked even more unnerving. So dark. They seemed to swallow all light. A faint, watery ring of brown rimmed the edges of her irises, like ink that hadn't fully dissolved in water. "Evelyn, listen to me." I tried to reason with her. "What you're doing right now is illegal. False imprisonment, stalking, extortion, and hacking security cameras. Are you going to call the cops, babe?" she asked. "Let's go right now. I'll go with you." She actually reached out, grabbed my hand, and started dragging me toward the front door. I froze in place, completely unable to move. "Or," she turned back, her sweet smile instantly returning, "you can just try to accept me. Just for 1 month. If you still don't love me after a month, I'll leave and never bother you again. I'll delete all of our chat history, wipe the transaction records, and act as if these 3 months never happened. Really, really, really. She nodded, but during this month you have to cooperate with me. Just like a real couple. What does cooperating even mean? It's simple, she said, counting on her fingers. First, you can't tell anyone about my existence. Second, come home straight after work. You have to notify me in advance if you travel for business. Third, we get full access to each other's phones. Fourth, sleeping. She paused, the tips of her ears turning slightly pink. You have to hold me when we sleep. I can't fall asleep unless someone is holding me. I stared at her, trying to find any crack in her armor. Just 1 month? Just 1 month. She nodded solemnly. I swear, if you still don't like me after a month, babe, I'll disappear and never show my face again. Fine. Evelyn's eyes instantly lit up. That same psychotic gleam flashed across her eyes for a split second, before she quickly masked it. She jumped up and threw her arms around my neck, like a child who had just been given candy. You're the best, babe. I'll go heat up the soup. She skipped back into the kitchen, humming a tune, her slender silhouette radiating pure joy. I stood frozen in place, rubbing my neck. When she hugged me just now, something hard had pressed painfully into my collarbone. The handcuffs. She had hidden them in her apron pocket, leaving a small length of the metal chain exposed. She was testing me, or rather, savoring the sick thrill of getting away with it. My heart sank. I knew I had just made a catastrophic mistake, but there was already no turning back. That first week, I felt like I was walking on razor-thin ice. Evelyn operated like a perfectly coded program, strictly adhering to a set of rules I couldn't even begin to comprehend. She woke up at 5:30 in the morning every day to make breakfast, saw me off at 7:30, and I had no idea what she did during the day. Dinner was served exactly at 6:30 in the evening, and by 10 o'clock, she was pressuring me to go to sleep. She didn't force me to talk, didn't force me to express affection, and didn't even force me to touch her. She only demanded my presence. Whenever I was coding in the living room, she would sit right next to me reading a book, occasionally looking up at me with a deeply satisfied smile. When I slept in the bedroom, she insisted on sleeping on the couch, but demanded that the bedroom door remain wide open. This way, I can hear your breathing, babe. Whenever I went to the bathroom, she would stand guard right outside the door, asking if I needed any tissues. I have a right to privacy. I finally snapped. Privacy? She tilted her head, as if learning a brand new word. When you said you wanted to watch me shower online, babe, why didn't you care about privacy then? That was a joke. I'm just joking right now, too. She smiled. Are you mad at me, babe? I realized that trying to reason with her was completely futile. Her logic was a flawless, closed loop. Every piece of evidence that could incriminate me was meticulously preserved, while all of her boundary-crossing behavior was defined as love. On the night of the 7th day, I tried to escape. My company called for unexpected overtime. I shot her a quick text. Not coming home tonight, babe. I'm crashing at the office. And honestly, I actually did stay at work. I curled up on the crappy break room couch for the night, but at 3 a.m., I jolted awake, shivering out of my mind. The office AC was blasting on full freeze. Groggily, I wrapped my thin blanket tighter around my shoulders, instantly getting that creeping, skin-crawling feeling that someone was watching me in the dark. I slowly opened my eyes. My heart dropped. Evelyn was sitting in the rolling chair right next to my face, wearing that same eerie white sundress. Her long, dark hair cascaded over her shoulders. She was using the harsh glow of her phone screen to light up my face. You lied to me, babe. Her voice didn't have a single drop of anger in it, just this deep, gut-wrenching disappointment. You said you were staying at the office, but I hacked into the security cameras. You never even went to your cubicle. Instead, while you were in the break room, you chatted up a female coworker for 17 whole minutes. My blood instantly ran ice cold. That female coworker is just a product manager, I stammered. She only came over to ask a stupid technical question. She touched your arm 3 times, Evelyn interrupted flatly, and you smiled at her 4 times. You're stalking me, I accused. I'm protecting you, she gently corrected me. That woman has nasty intentions. I dug through all her social media accounts. She has a boyfriend, yet she was still flirting with my man. You're way too innocent, babe. You're going to get taken advantage of. You looked her up? I gasped. I looked up absolutely everyone. Evelyn stood up, closing the distance between us. Your coworkers, your bros, your exes, your old college classmates. I know exactly who's genuinely there for you and who's just a two-faced fake. Like David. I know he acts like your absolute best bro to your face, but the second you turn your back, he calls you a gullible loser and an easy target for cash. And Chloe? I know she chased you in college, and she's still obsessively stalking your feeds right now. She leaned in dangerously close, slamming both her hands down onto the armrests of my cramped couch. She effectively trapped me in that tiny little space. I know everything. That's why I am the absolute only one who can protect you. This isn't protection. My voice shook violently. This is control. Control? She let out a chilling little laugh. Babe, if I really wanted to control you, you wouldn't even be standing here right now. She slowly pulled a pair of heavy steel handcuffs from her pocket. I hadn't even realized she had managed to take them back. I could so easily chain you up and lock you in a dark basement, only feeding you day by day. But I didn't do that to you. I let you go out to work. I let you socialize with your friends. I gave you your precious freedom. All I ask, her fingertips brushed against my cheek, icy cold yet hauntingly soft, is that you belong to me completely, utterly, solely mine. I squeezed my eyes shut. I'll go back home with you. But you have to promise me right now. No more spying on my coworkers, and no more hacking into private systems. Fine, she whispered. And absolutely no more stalking me. The room fell dead silent. Babe, I can't do that last one, she finally said. If I don't follow you, babe, how will I ever know if you're lying to me again, just like you did tonight? I swear I won't lie to you again. But you just lied to me a few minutes ago, babe. I was totally defenseless. In the end, we struck a twisted compromise. I promised I wouldn't try to run away ever again. In return, she promised to dial back the crazy frequency of her tracking, while still holding on to her quote-unquote necessary right to monitor me. On the cab ride home, she fell fast asleep, resting her head against my shoulder. I just blankly stared out at the blurry city lights bleeding past the window. It suddenly hit me like a ton of bricks. I had already grown totally accustomed to her insane presence. Honestly, that was the most terrifying part of this whole nightmare. By the second week back, I started noticing Evelyn's bizarre little abnormalities. It wasn't an in-your-face kind of weirdness, though. On the surface, she was still gentle, incredibly sweet, and meticulously attentive to my needs. No, this was a much deeper, darker fracture hidden right beneath her picture-perfect exterior. Like, for instance, she was absolutely mortified by mirrors. It wasn't just a fear of looking into them. It was a desperate, primal fear of them actually reflecting her image. She went around completely adjusting the angles of every single mirror in our entire apartment. She made damn sure she would never accidentally catch a glimpse of her own reflection anywhere. Whenever she was forced to walk past one, she'd drop her head and practically sprint by. She also never took photos. One time, I tried to snap a cute picture of her cooking, and she lashed out violently, her face morphing into an expression of pure, unadulterated panic. "Don't you ever capture my image," she shrieked. "Photographs trap a piece of your literal soul." And then there were her nightmares. They were absolutely relentless. Night after agonizing night, I would be jolted awake by her blood-curdling, horrific screams. I'd frantically sprint out to the living room, only to find her curled into a tight ball on the couch, violently choking herself with her own hands while muttering frantic, unintelligible nonsense. Even after I desperately shook her awake, she wouldn't fully snap out of her trance right away. She would just dig her nails into my shirt, clinging to me and openly sobbing, "Don't turn off the lights. Please, God, don't turn off the lights." "Babe, what did you dream about?" I begged her to tell me one time. She just violently shook her head, her face turning a deathly, sickening pale. "I can't say it. If I speak it out loud, it'll come true. Babe, it's just a stupid dream." "It is not a dream," she snapped, staring dead at me with a hollow terror I couldn't even begin to comprehend. "It's a memory, a deeply distorted memory. But sometimes it bleeds right through into reality." I desperately wanted to press for more answers, but she stubbornly refused to say another word. Late one night during our third week of this madness, I woke up dying of thirst and stumbled out to the kitchen to grab a quick glass of water. As I shuffled through the living room, Evelyn was nowhere to be seen, but the bathroom light was flickering on, and the door was left just slightly, chillingly ajar. I crept closer, the muffled voices freezing me in my tracks. She wasn't just talking to herself in there. She was having a full-blown conversation. "I know. I'll handle it. He doesn't suspect a thing. The plan is going perfectly." Hearing those chilling words, my blood turned to absolute ice. I yanked the door open. Evelyn was just sitting there on the closed toilet lid, her phone pressed tightly against her ear. But when she saw me, there wasn't a single trace of panic on her face. "Babe is awake," she casually told the person on the other end. "I have to hang up. He's right here." She ended the call, looked up at me with that perfect, innocent smile, and asked, "Are you thirsty? Let me get you some water." "Who were you on the phone with?" I demanded, my heart pounding. "A friend? What kind of friend? Who the hell calls someone at 3 in the morning?" She just tilted her head innocently. "Are you angry, babe? Just because I have a friend you don't know about?" "Evelyn." I dropped my voice, desperation leaking in. "Who the hell are you? Really?" "I'm Evelyn." "Silly. Your real identity, your family, your school, your past, you never mention any of it. Whenever I ask, you always dodge the question. Where did you even come from? Where are your parents? Why are you?" My voice hitched in my throat. Evelyn just sat there on the lid, swimming in one of my oversized button-down shirts. She always loved stealing my clothes for pajamas. Her legs were pulled tight to her chest, making her look so tiny, so dangerously fragile. Yet her eyes in that dim bathroom light were so dead calm, they almost didn't seem human. "Do you really want to know, babe? I want to know the real you. The real me?" she repeated, rolling the words around on her tongue as if she were savoring them. "Are you sure, babe? The real me might not be the girl you fell for. Tell me." She slowly stood up and walked right into my personal space. Only then did I realize she wasn't wearing any slippers. Her bare feet were planted right on those freezing cold tiles. Her toes were flushed bright red from the chill. "I don't have parents," she whispered. "Or rather, I have no idea who they even are. I grew up in a hellhole orphanage. I got adopted at 12, but they sent me right back at 15 because of my so-called abnormal behavior. At 16, I ran away for good. I survived purely on internet scams, right up until I met you, babe." She raised her hand, gently caressing my cheek. "You were the first person who ever made me want to stop scamming." "Scamming?" I choked out. She purred with a twisted little smile. "Cutie Bunny is just one of my permanent personas. It's specifically tailored to target lonely guys, 25 to 30 years old, working in IT. You know, the introverted ones, totally desperate for a little intimacy. It's a strict 3-month cycle. Build up emotional dependence, extract a ton of cash, and then vanish into thin air. You were supposed to be mark number 7, babe." A sudden, sickening wave of dizziness washed over me. "But you were different, babe." Evelyn's voice suddenly softened, losing that clinical edge. "You remembered every single little thing I casually mentioned. When I got sick, your voice would literally shake with worry. You'd say things like, 'Please don't leave me behind.' Those words were real, weren't they, babe?" Her cold fingers slid up my neck, pressing gently against my carotid artery, feeling my racing pulse. "So, I didn't come find you to make you my prey. I came because you were exactly the person I'd been searching for all my life. Me, the real, completely psychotic Evelyn. That phone call just now, it was from the director of my old orphanage. I send him hush money every single month, and he helps me cover my digital tracks. In exchange, I keep my mouth shut about the sick things he used to do." "What things?" I asked. Evelyn smiled again, a dark, hollow smile that made my skin completely crawl. "Do you really want to know, babe? Because once you know, there is absolutely no turning back." I stared deeply into her eyes. Staring back at me was pure madness. There was agonizing pain and a bottomless abyss of darkness. Yet, right underneath it all, there was this desperate anticipation, like she was begging me to either turn and run for my life or finally stay. "Tell me," I demanded. Evelyn's entire expression shifted. That creepy, inhuman calmness instantly shattered, exposing the raw, bleeding vulnerability hiding underneath. Her eyes rimmed with red, and her bottom lip started to tremble. "He locked me up," she whispered. Her voice so incredibly soft it sounded like it came from a million miles away. "In a freezing basement. No light, no sound, just mirrors. All 4 walls were covered in mirrors, forcing me to stare at myself. Just look at myself. Poor, pathetic, lonely, watching every shred of my sanity slowly tear apart." She couldn't even finish the sentence. Her whole body began to shake violently, as if she'd been dragged right back into the suffocating dark of that basement. Instinctively, I reached out and pulled her into a tight hug. She stiffened for a split second, and then, like a drowning girl clutching a piece of driftwood, she held on to me for dear life. It took me 3 whole years. she muttered weakly into my chest, just to be able to look into a mirror normally again. But I'm still so terrified. Terrified that the person staring back in the glass isn't even me. Terrified that I've already been completely replaced. Terrified that the me standing right here is just some hollow duplicate, and the real me is still trapped in the dark of that basement. You're not, I breathed out, honestly unsure if I was comforting her or desperately reassuring myself. You're right here, right now, with me. This is real. Really? She tilted her head up to look at me, hot tears streaming down her pale face. You really won't leave me, right, babe? Even knowing that I'm just a dirty liar? A total psycho? She couldn't even finish. I just leaned down and kissed her. Honestly, I didn't even know why I did it. Maybe it was out of pity. Maybe it was raw fear. Or maybe it was because, during those 3 months of late-night calls, at some exact moment in time, I had genuinely fallen in love with that sweet girl, my sweet cutesy bunny. Even if she never really existed, even if every single word was just a beautiful lie. Evelyn completely froze. But then, she returned the kiss, fierce, hungry, and so incredibly desperate, as if she wanted to carve her very soul directly into my bones. When we finally broke apart, her eyes were burning with this blinding, terrifying light. Babe, she panted, totally out of breath. You really can't escape now. I am never, truly never letting you go. I knew she meant it. But the crazy part? I didn't regret it. At least, not in that exact moment. By week 4, everything between us shifted completely. Things didn't exactly get better, they just got tighter. We were like two vines, completely twisted and tangled up in the dark. Our roots intertwined, our branches overlapping until we were completely, dangerously inseparable. Evelyn actually started letting me leave the house without checking in first. But there was a catch. She insisted I wear this fitness tracker she bought me. It just monitors your heart rate and your sleep, she would tell me. Yeah, right. I knew damn well there was a GPS tracker hidden inside, but I kept my mouth shut. I even started getting used to her brutal late-night nightmares. I learned exactly how to wake her up right before the screaming started, and I learned to just hold her hand until dawn whenever she begged me to leave the lights on. God help me. I actually began to look forward to her being there. I liked having breakfast waiting for me the second I woke up. I liked seeing the porch light left on for me when I dragged myself home late at night, and seeing her slender silhouette curled up on the couch. All the things about her that used to absolutely terrify me had somehow become my safe place. What are you thinking about, babe? She was draped right over my back, her chin resting heavy on my shoulder. We were watching some obscure, old indie art film on the TV. I wasn't paying a single bit of attention to it. My head was completely jammed with lines of code, and my massive project deadline coming up next week. Just thinking about work, I mumbled. Liar, she whispered, playfully biting down on my earlobe. You were thinking it would be nice if things could just stay like this forever. My entire body completely stiffened. She totally nailed it. You're falling for me, babe. She let out this triumphant little laugh, and not as some replacement for your precious cutesy bunny. You're falling for Evelyn, the psychotic, obsessive control freak. Evelyn, I'm not. Yes, you are. She quickly slid around to the front, straddling my lap and firmly cupping my face with both of her hands. I can see my reflection in your eyes, babe. I just know. Before, whenever you looked at me, there was nothing but sheer panic. But now, she leaned in dangerously close, pressing her nose right against mine. Now, there's tenderness. I opened my mouth to deny it, but her lips were already crashing into mine. And this kiss, it was totally different from the others. It wasn't fierce, and it wasn't desperate. It was a slow, deep exploration, almost as if she was trying to confirm a secret truth. When she finally pulled away, her eyes were completely misty. The month is up, she whispered. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Our crazy agreement. 30 days. If I still didn't love her after a month, she promised she would leave forever. So, what's your choice, babe? She asked. Her voice was incredibly soft, almost like she was terrified of what I might say. The silvery moonlight was streaming right through the window, casting this pale, hauntingly beautiful glow all over her face. She was wearing my oversized t-shirt, her hair a totally messy tangle, and I could see those faint, dark exhaustion circles under her eyes. She had suffered through yet another screaming nightmare just last night. She was as far from perfect as you could get. Psychotic, dangerously obsessive, dragging around severe, deep-rooted trauma and honestly, probably a borderline personality disorder. She literally stalked me. She tried to control my every move. She used sick threats and twisted lies just to trap me right here by her side. But despite all that, she was real. More real to me than anyone else ever was. She never tried to hide her ugly darkness. She didn't pretend to be some normal girl, and she sure as hell never begged for my forgiveness. She simply existed, using this almost violent, gravitational force to claim my space, my time, and my entire life. "Stay," I said. Evelyn's eyes went wide as saucers. "What did you say?" she gasped. I said, "Stay," I repeated, my voice steady. "But, on a few strict conditions." "What kind of conditions?" "First, you need to see a therapist, and I'll go with you." She instantly frowned. "I don't need a shrink." "Yes, you do," I interrupted her, not backing down. "Not just for my sake, Evelyn, but for yours. Those awful nightmares, your intense fear of mirrors, all those horrific memories of that basement. You have to process them." Evelyn fell completely silent for a long, heavy moment. "And the second condition," I continued, "get a real job. No more online scams. I mean something honest and totally legal. You could study graphic design. You're honestly amazing at photo editing, after all. And third," I took a long, deep breath to steady my nerves, "stop tracking me. You can keep the fitness band on my wrist, but it stays as just a fitness band. No more hacking into my company's servers, no more spying on my coworkers, and absolutely no more stalking me." Evelyn's expression immediately turned super complicated. "But what if you lie to me, babe?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I won't. But what if you do?" "Evelyn," I said, gently taking both of her shaking hands in mine, "trust has to go both ways. You want me to accept the real, messed up you, then you have to accept the real me too. Look, sometimes I'm going to have to work late. Sometimes I'll have to talk to my female coworkers. And yeah, sometimes I'm just going to need a little time to myself. But none of that means I don't love you." The absolute second that word left my mouth, we both completely froze. I honestly hadn't even expected myself to actually say it out loud. Evelyn clearly hadn't expected to hear it either. "Babe," her voice was literally shaking. "Did you just—" "I said I love you," I replied, my own voice surprisingly calm. Well, since the words were already out there was zero turning back now. I really don't know when it started. Maybe it was that crazy night you finally told me about the basement. Or hell, maybe it was even earlier than that. Maybe it was when you made me that very first breakfast. All I know right now is that the thought of you actually leaving me scares me way more than the thought of you staying." Evelyn suddenly just burst into tears, and it wasn't some pretty, silent cry either. She was sobbing hysterically, crying just like a little kid who had her favorite candy snatched away, only to have it handed right back. She violently threw herself into my arms. Her tears were completely soaking straight through my shirt as her small body trembled against mine. "You can't take it back," she choked out between heavy, gasping sobs. "You told me that once you love someone, there's no taking it back. I'm holding you to that. I'm going to remember this forever. If you ever tell me you don't love me anymore, I'll... You'll what? What will you do?" "I'll end you, and then I'll end myself." She said it completely deadpan, like it was just a simple fact of life. I knew she wasn't joking. "I won't take it back," I promised. "But you have to agree to my terms. See a therapist, get a job, and stop tracking my phone. Okay? Swear on it." "I swear." She looked up at me. Her face was absolutely drenched in tears, but her eyes were shining with a blinding, intense light. "But if you're lying to me, babe, the deal is off. I'll lock you up in a basement just like they did to me. I'll give you exactly 1 meal a day, so all you can do is look at me and think about me." Her words made my skin absolutely crawl, and yet her expression was so unbelievably tender, filled with this deep, genuine longing. "You wouldn't actually want that," I whispered. "I've thought about it," she admitted softly. "I think about it every single night. But you're right, babe. I need to try to be normal for you. I promise. I will try to be normal." She held out her trembling hand, tightly hooking her pinky around mine. "Pinky, swear for 1 month. If I can do it, you belong to me forever, babe. And if you can't, if I can't, we'll just keep trying," I told her. "I'm not putting a time limit on this." Evelyn stared at me, completely stunned. before a soft smile broke across her face. It was easily the most beautiful smile I had ever seen her wear. There were no masks, no lingering madness. Just a 20-year-old girl who was genuinely, truly happy because she finally felt loved. "You're the best, babe," she cheered, jumping up and skipping into the kitchen while happily humming a tune. I just sat there on the couch, listening to her bustle around, and it hit me. My life had completely changed. I had actually fallen in love with a yandere. Not some cute anime cliché, but a very real, dangerously obsessive girl who could completely ruin my life. But honestly, I didn't regret a single thing. At least, not in that exact moment. Watching her happily working away in the kitchen, I had zero regrets. But acting normal? That turned out to be way harder than we thought. During that first month, Evelyn tried going to therapy 3 separate times, but she panicked and bolted at the clinic door every single time. On the 4th try, I went inside with her, holding her hand the whole way. She kept her eyes glued to the floor, absolutely terrified, without uttering a single word. Finally, on our 5th visit, she spoke. She talked endlessly about the basement, about the terrifying mirrors, and the crushing trauma of being adopted, only to be thrown away and sent back. When we walked out of that office, her face was ghost pale, but there was this undeniable sense of relief in her eyes. "The doctor said I have CPTSD," she whispered. "Complex post-traumatic stress disorder, along with borderline personality traits. Can it be cured?" I asked. "No," she replied softly, "but I can learn to live with it." It was like living with a deep wound that would never fully heal. Slowly but surely, she even managed to land a remote job working as a graphic designer. In that very first month, she checked my phone's location 17 times a day. Later on, it dropped to 10 times, then 5, and finally down to 3. "I'm really trying," she told me. "But you have to give me time, babe." I knew she was still suffering from nightmares, but they were definitely becoming less frequent. She was still terrified of mirrors, but she started forcing herself to meet her own eyes in the reflection, instead of immediately darting away in fear. Most importantly, she learned how to handle being alone. Whenever I had to work overtime, she stopped blowing up my phone in a panic. Instead, she spent her evenings drawing, cooking, or just quietly watching documentaries. "Babe," she murmured one day, "I've realized that a normal person's life is actually pretty boring. Do you ever regret this?" "No," she answered her own question, thinking for a moment. "Because it's boring, it feels safe. My life used to be way too exciting. Exciting to the point where none of it felt real. Now I know that you'll be right here tomorrow morning, babe. We'll eat dinner together tonight, and maybe even catch a movie over the weekend." This predictability. She gently leaned against my shoulder. "This predictability is the only thing that helps me sleep." I softly stroked her hair. She had recently cut it down to her shoulders. "Long hair is just too heavy," she had told me. It always felt like a burden. "Evelyn," I asked gently, "have you ever thought about what you want to do in the future?" "The future? Like 5 years from now? Or 10 years down the road? Are we?" I paused, choosing my words carefully. "Are we going to just keep going like this forever?" Evelyn sat up straight, her expression instantly turning guarded and defensive. "Do you want to change something, babe?" I carefully weighed my next words. "Not change, but progress. We've been together for half a year now. You've never once mentioned meeting my friends, or my parents, or even marriage?" Evelyn finished for me, a sudden smile breaking through. "You want to marry me, babe?" "I've thought about it." Her defensive expression instantly softened into something incredibly warm. "I think about it every single night. I think about how handsome you'd look in a suit, babe, and how I'd look in a white wedding dress. I can picture it all perfectly, even without looking in a mirror. I dream about us having our own home. Not just some rented apartment, but a real place that we bought together. I think about." She trailed off, a sudden heavy wave of pure terror surging deep within her eyes. "Think about what?" I prompted. "Think about having kids." Her voice was trembling, as light as a feather. "But I'm just not fit for it. My genes, my broken mind." "Right here," she said, tapping her finger against her head. "There is something deeply wrong with me. I shouldn't have children. I can't pass this sickness down to them. And what?" I urged gently. "And honestly, I would be jealous," she admitted candidly. "If you loved the baby more than you loved me, babe, I'd get jealous. I might end up hurting the baby, just like how they hurt me." I fell completely silent. This wasn't the conversation I had anticipated at all. I thought we'd be talking about a wedding, a house, or a honeymoon, not genetic illnesses and dark urges to hurt a child. We don't have to have kids, I said softly. But Evelyn just shook her head. But you want them, babe, I know you do. You said before that you wanted a son and a daughter. You'll play soccer with the boy, and I'll teach the girl how to draw. That was before, I said. You'll regret it, babe. Her breathing grew rapid, and her gaze began to lose focus. The signs of an impending panic attack were becoming obvious. 10 or 20 years from now, when you look at other people's children, you'll regret it. You'll hate me, and you'll leave me. Evelyn! I immediately wrapped my arms tightly around her. I gently rubbed her back. Breathe, Evelyn. Breathe with me. Inhale. Exhale. We sat on the floor, leaning against the couch for a full 20 minutes before her breathing finally stabilized. I'm sorry, she whispered. I lost control again. It's okay, babe. She tilted her head up to look at me, her eyes swimming with terror, anticipation, and a deep-seated insecurity that cut right to the bone. If I can't give you a normal life, if I can't give you children, if I can't give you a healthy love, will you leave me? I gazed deeply into her eyes. Before, when she asked that, it carried a threatening edge. If you dare leave me, I'll. But now, it was nothing but a humble plea, desperately placing the choice entirely in my hands. No, I said gently. I mean it. Really? I paused for a moment. But I have one condition. What condition? You have to continue your therapy. Not for me, but for yourself. You need to learn that even if I'm afraid, or even if I want to leave, you can still live a good life without threatening me, without hurting yourself. You need to truly, healthfully live on. Evelyn's eyes welled with tears. That's so hard. I know it's even harder than not tracking you. I know. She fell silent for a long time, finally nodding. I'll try for you, babe. I'll try. The real shift happened around our 1-year anniversary. Evelyn's work was smooth sailing, even earning her a big promotion. Her therapist said her progress was absolutely astonishing. Although there was still a long road ahead, she had already built a basic sense of self-awareness and emotional control. She had learned to stop tracking my location when I worked late, sending just a single message instead. When are you coming home? I miss you. Then she would peacefully go about her day and wait for my reply. She had learned that when I spoke with female coworkers, she shouldn't hack into the security cameras, but instead softly ask afterward, "Who did you talk to today? Was it nice?" Then she would listen intently to me, fighting hard to suppress her jealousy. She had even learned to look into mirrors. Every morning she would stand in front of the mirror for a full minute, staring into her own eyes and whispering, "I am Evelyn. I am real. I am here." I truly thought we were slowly stepping toward a normal life, until that phone call came. "Mr. Miller, I'm with the Municipal Police Department. There are some matters we'd like to ask you about regarding Miss Basie." Evelyn. My blood instantly turned to ice. We met at a local coffee shop. Officer Ward was in his 40s, his eyes sharp but entirely free of hostility. "Don't be nervous. This isn't an arrest, just an inquiry. Miss Evelyn is tied to an old case, and we want to get an update on her current situation." "What old case?" "An internet fraud case from 3 years ago. There were 5 victims, and the total amount involved was $120,000. The primary suspect has already been caught, and he gave up Evelyn. Her alias back then was White Bunny. It hit me like a lightning bolt. She had told me before. I was supposed to be the 7th victim. She was a minor at the time and merely an accessory, coerced into participating. Officer Ward continued. "We were originally going to prosecute her, but she provided critical evidence against the ringleader and even exposed the orphanage director's crimes of false imprisonment and child abuse. She was one of the victims herself." I gripped my coffee cup tighter. "So, the case is complicated, and we need her cooperation for the investigation. But she disappeared for 3 years until last month, when we noticed activity on her bank account. That's how we tracked her down to you. Are you going to arrest her?" "Not arrest. We're just asking her to assist with our investigation." Officer Ward frowned. "But there's a problem. The accomplice who coerced her back then was released from prison last month. We've been keeping tabs on him, and found that." He slid a photograph across the table. In the photo, a tall, thin man was standing right outside my office building, staring up at the structure. "He's looking for Evelyn, and he's highly likely to find her through you." I stared at the photo, my stomach turning. "Why don't you just arrest him? We don't have grounds. He hasn't made a move yet. The guy is just standing right outside the building." Officer Ward slid the photo across the table. Mr. Miller, we need your full cooperation on this. Evelyn has to go into protective custody, just until we can track this psycho down. It's strictly for her own safety. I just sat there, dead silent. I knew exactly how Evelyn was going to take this. 3 whole years of hiding. 1 grueling year of agonizing effort just to feel normal again. To suddenly get locked away in a safe house, even if it was to protect her, would feel like the ultimate betrayal. To her, it would feel exactly like I was abandoning her. Like being dragged, kicking and screaming right back into that hellish basement. I need to talk this over with her first, I finally said. Fine, but make absolutely sure you don't spook him. This creep might be watching every move you make, too. Officer Ward stood up to leave, but then he shot me a deadly serious look. Mr. Miller, does Evelyn have a history of violence? Our files show she exhibited some pretty aggressive behavior back at the orphanage. She also physically harmed her adoptive parents before they sent her back. You've been living with her for a whole year now. Has she ever? No, I cut him off right there. She has never laid a finger on me. It was the honest truth. But the second those words left my mouth, a dark memory flashed through my mind. I remembered her whispering, "I will kill you, and then I will kill myself." I thought about the heavy steel handcuffs she kept hidden deep inside her apron pocket. I remembered the twisted, sheer longing in her eyes when she talked about locking me away in a basement forever. Let's just hope it stays that way. Officer Ward let out a heavy sigh. Mr. Miller, if you notice anything off anything at all, you contact us immediately. And that is not a suggestion. That is an order. He tossed his business card on the table, turned around, and walked out. I just sat there in that coffee shop, staring blankly at the card until my drink went completely cold. Later that night, as Evelyn and I sat together on the couch, I made the call to tell her the absolute truth. No more secrets. I laid out exactly what Officer Ward had told me, repeating every single detail, word for word. Evelyn's face twisted from pure shock into raw terror, before suddenly freezing into this eerie, dead calm. He is looking for me. She said it flat out, without a single ounce of doubt. It wasn't a question, it was a horrifying fact. Officer Ward said the police are going to protect you, I urged. Not Officer Ward, Evelyn cut in instantly. It's him, Vince. He finally found me. Her voice sounded terrifyingly steady, but her slender fingers were trembling violently. I reached out and grabbed her hands, holding them tight. They felt like literal blocks of ice. Who the hell is Vince? I asked. The orphanage director's son, Evelyn replied, her voice echoing with a hollow, broken emptiness. He is also the monster who taught me how to do my job. He trained me how to text, how to play the cute, innocent victim, and exactly how to make grown men willingly transfer all their cash to me. He pocketed 70% of the cut, and I got a measly 30. And if I ever dared to disobey him, she trailed off, unable to finish that dark sentence. But she didn't have to. I understood it perfectly. The horrific memories of that pitch-black basement said it all. My throat tightened like a vice. It wasn't just the twisted director hurting her. It was the son, too. But it was mostly Vince, Evelyn whispered, her voice drifting a million miles away. He is the one who was totally obsessed with mirrors. He always used to say, "Mirrors force people to stare right at their true nature." And my true nature? She let out a dry, broken laugh. The look on her face right then made my blood run absolutely cold. My true nature is being nothing but his personal property. A toy that he built from scratch. A pet that he owns completely. Trash that he can smash to pieces whenever he gets bored. I pulled her in close and wrapped my arms tightly around her. She was violently shivering, yet her entire body was stiff as a board, desperately fighting off the nightmare memories crashing back over her mind. "Evelyn," I murmured, keeping my voice gentle but rock steady. "We need to go to the cops right now. Screw waiting for Officer Ward, we are marching straight into the precinct. You lay everything out for them, and I swear they will protect you." "It is totally useless now," Evelyn whispered softly. Every muscle in my body locked up. "What the hell do you mean by that?" Evelyn gently shoved me away, got to her feet, and slowly walked over to the living room window, completely turning her back to me. Pale moonlight spilled over her shoulders, making her slender silhouette look so heartbreakingly fragile. "Vince tracking me down wasn't some random accident," she said, her voice heavy with dread. "I have been way too visible out there this past year, working my job, going out, leaving massive paper trails with my bank statements. I really thought I had covered my tracks so perfectly, but to him, I was shining like a massive beacon in the dead of night. How could he possibly miss me? He is out for pure, unadulterated revenge. Evelyn suddenly spun around, her eyes swirling with a dark, chaotic storm of emotions I couldn't even begin to decipher. I betrayed him. I exposed his sick mother and threw him straight into a prison cell. He is never, ever going to let me go. And he won't spare you either. She paused, swallowing hard before choking out the words. You are his golden ticket in, babe. Her voice shook violently. Through you, he can rip me out of hiding and completely destroy me. I shot up from the couch, my tone fierce and unwavering. I am not afraid of him. But I am. Evelyn's tough facade shattered into a million pieces. I am terrified he is going to hurt you. Terrified he'll brutally rip you away from my life. Terrified that I am going to end up as his broken little property all over again, just to keep you safe, just to keep you breathing. I would crawl right back to him like an obedient dog. She abruptly collapsed onto the floor, tightly clutching her head as a blood-curdling scream ripped from her lungs. It wasn't just some high-pitched shriek of panic. It was a raw, primal roar of utter despair and burning fury, torn straight out from the very bottom of her soul. I instantly threw myself down next to her and locked my arms around her as tight as humanly possible. She wildly thrashed against me, clawing desperately at my arms and violently biting down on my shoulder, but I fiercely refused to let her go. I won't let him, I chanted over and over like a madman. I will not let him. I swear I will never let that bastard take you away from me. Never. Slowly, her frantic screams melted into weak, agonizing whimpers, finally dying down into one painfully desperate whisper. Just kill me, babe, she sobbed, burying her tear-soaked face deep into my chest. Please, just end it. If I'm dead, he won't be able to use me to hurt you ever again. Kill me, and then run away. Shut up, I snapped sharply, honestly startled by the raw intensity of my own voice. Evelyn stared up at me. Her face was completely tracked with tears, and her eyes were horribly red and swollen. We are not going to die. We are not going to separate. We will face this together. How? She whimpered. I took a deep breath and made my decision. I'll go meet him. Evelyn's eyes widened in pure horror. What? Vince wants you, but right now, I am the only person he can actually reach. I will go meet him, negotiate terms, and buy us some time. And while I do that, I'll be working with the cops. No! Evelyn gripped my shirt with absolute desperation. He'll kill you. No, he won't. I forced my voice to sound dead certain, even though my mind was completely terrified. What he wants is for you to be alive, just so you can live in misery. If he kills me, he loses all his leverage over you. He would lose his only way to control you. Evelyn stared at me as if she were looking at a complete stranger. Babe, when did you become so calculating? I let out a bitter, exhausted laugh. I learned it from you. We stared at each other in dead silence for a few long seconds, and then Evelyn smiled. It was a chilling smile, laced with a psychotic kind of love and absolute resolve. Fine, she agreed, but I have a condition. What condition? I have to be there. Not right in front of him, but nearby, where I can clearly see both of you. If he so much as lays a finger on you, her hands slid slowly into her pocket. I knew exactly what was hidden in there. She had never thrown those handcuffs away, but honestly, those cuffs were just a symbol. What her actual weapon was, I still had no idea. What will you do? I'll kill him, she said, completely and utterly unfazed. Just like I killed my adoptive parents' dog, they forced me to sleep in the kennel and fight that dog just for food. Later on, the dog died. They thought it died of some illness, but it was actually me. She stopped, looking straight into my eyes. Are you scared of me now, babe? I should have been absolutely terrified, and part of me truly was. But what surged inside my chest most of all was pure, overwhelming heartache. No, I whispered. I just wish I had met you sooner, before you did any of those things. Before you became like this. It wouldn't have mattered if you met me sooner, Evelyn said, shaking her head. I was born this way. The director always told me my mother was totally insane, and my father was a vicious predator. It's baked right into my genes. Shut up, I murmured, leaning down to kiss her. That kiss was a messy blur of anger, despair, and an almost violent tenderness. When we broke apart, we were both panting heavily. I steadied my thoughts, focusing on what had to be done. The day after tomorrow, I am going to meet him. You stay hidden close by and do absolutely nothing reckless. We are going to walk out of there alive, both of us, together. Evelyn stared up at me, her eyes shimmering in the dark. Babe, if I die, you won't die. I cut in. But she stubbornly insisted, promise me. Don't mourn for me for too long. Find a normal girl, have kids, and just live a normal life. Forget about me, Evelyn. Promise me. I closed my eyes and with agonizing difficulty managed to choke out my answer. I promise. That was the very first lie between us. And honestly, both of us knew it perfectly well. The meeting place was an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. I drove out there entirely alone, my palms completely slick with cold sweat. I couldn't see a single sign of Evelyn in the rearview mirror, but I felt it in my gut she was right behind me. She had insisted on following on a motorcycle, saying a car would just be way too conspicuous. The factory was thick with the awful smell of rust and rot. Inside, Vince was just sitting there on a battered old sofa. He looked to be around 30, tall and gaunt, wearing an ill-fitting suit, clearly trying to mimic the look of a successful man. "Mr. Miller," he said, slowly standing up. He extended his hand. "An absolute pleasure to meet you. Evelyn mentioned you all the time." I completely ignored his hand. I got straight to the point. "What exactly do you want?" "Straight to the point. I like that." Vince pulled his hand back and let out a creepy laugh. "I want Evelyn. Not the version she is right now, though. No, I want the old, sweet little bunny. The one who was sweet, completely obedient, and knew exactly who her master was. She will never go with you," I growled. "Oh, she will." Vince pulled out his phone and brought up a video. "Take a look." The video, a terrified little girl was curled up tight in a dark corner, desperately clutching her head. The director's chilling voice echoed through the intercom. "Look into the mirror. Look at yourself. What exactly are you?" The trembling girl answered in a broken, terrified whimper. "I am trash. I am a worthless piece of trash that nobody wants." "Who made you into trash?" "My mom. She didn't want me, so I am trash." "Who else?" And the director. But the director is a good man. The director feeds me." The horrifying video cut off abruptly right there. My stomach violently churned with absolute, sickening nausea. 12 years old, Vince stated with a chillingly cold tone. "We spent 3 agonizing years turning her from an unwanted piece of trash into a perfectly useful white bunny. And then, Mr. Miller, you used just 3 short months to turn her right back into useless trash. Do you actually feel proud of yourself?" "I set her free," I shot back defensively. "Free?" Vince laughed hysterically, like a total maniac. "Does she even need freedom? What she truly craves is a sense of belonging, absolute control, and knowing exactly who loves her, who hates her, and who has the absolute power to destroy her at any given moment. You give her freedom, and she'll just get lost." He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a sickening, dead quiet whisper. "She'll only suffer, and in the end, she'll crawl right back to me, because I'm the only way she knows she even exists." My fists clenched so hard my knuckles turned white. "You're dead wrong. She chose me, not because I control her, but because I accept every single messed up, dark piece of her." Vince's smug expression evaporated in a split second. The fake, polite mask completely peeled away, leaving behind pure, chilling malice. "Then let's see who she really chooses," he sneered, snapping his fingers. Boom! The factory's heavy side door kicked open. 2 massive goons dragged someone out from the shadows. My heart stopped. It was Evelyn. Her motorcycle helmet hit the concrete with a sickening crack. Blood oozed from a nasty cut on her forehead, her eyes barely open. "Evelyn!" I lunged forward, but Vince slammed his arm out, blocking my path. "Whoa there! Don't be in such a rush," he chuckled darkly. "While she was busy tailing you, my boys were busy tailing her. Child's play, really." Evelyn forced her heavy head up, and the second she saw me, her eyes snapped wide open in horror. "Spoiler alert. She's not running anywhere," Vince said, his voice ice cold. "So, Mr. Miller, you've got exactly 2 choices right now. Option 1, you walk out that door and never see Evelyn again. I guarantee she stays alive, sure, but she definitely won't be very comfortable. Or option 2, you stay. I let you 2 lovebirds be together, but you go back to working for me, just like the good old days." He leaned right into my ear, his breath absolutely foul. "And you know, Evelyn is a total natural at making men happy. You can grab some popcorn and watch, or you can join the fun. I'm cool with either." That was it. I slammed a brutal right hook squarely into his jaw. Vince stumbled backward, but instead of raging out, the psycho actually laughed. Wiping a streak of blood from his mouth, he gave a twisted nod. "You've got some serious spine, kid. But spine doesn't pay the damn bills." He lazily waved his hand. The two goons tossed Evelyn to the dirt like a rag doll and lunged straight for my throat. The next 2 minutes, a complete, chaotic blur of violence. I was violently slammed into the concrete, taking a brutal, breathless kick straight to the gut. My vision faded to pitch black as Evelyn's blood-curdling screams tore through my ears. Then came a sharp, metallic clinking of heavy chains, followed by a vicious slicing sound tearing through the air, and finally, the dull, heavy thud of a massive body hitting the floor. Fighting through the dizzying pain, I forced my head up. Evelyn was standing dead center in front of Vince, and she was holding a knife. I had zero clue where she even hid the thing, but the razor-sharp tip was pressed deep against Vince's throat. Her face was a completely blank slate, a terrifying look I'd never seen from her before. No anger, no fear, not a single drop of emotion whatsoever. She looked like a cold, calculating machine executing a kill code. "You taught me this," she whispered, her voice terrifyingly deadpan. "Always hide your weapon in plain sight. You taught me this. Hang back when you tail a target, but when it's time to strike, get close enough to smell their damn breath. You taught me everything." The blade dug into his skin, sending a single, slow drop of crimson creeping down his neck. "Whoa, don't do it, Evelyn." Vince threw both hands up, his arrogant voice finally shaking with genuine terror. "Think about the director. If you kill me, he dies too. He might be a monster, but he's the only one." "The only one what?" Evelyn cut him off, tilting her head. "The only one who beat me senseless? The only one who chained me in that pitch-black basement? The only one who brainwashed me into thinking I was born to be garbage?" Her white-knuckle grip on the knife handle tightened violently. "I have waited 3 agonizing years," she snarled. 3 years, practicing for this moment every single day, playing this exact kill in my head, over and over. Not to prove a point, not even for my own freedom. It was to let him see. She threw a fierce glance back at me, that I am not a piece of trash. I am not your little white bunny anymore. I am Evelyn, the man I chose, the life I chose. Summoning a terrifying, unknown strength, she drove the blade another deadly millimeter into his throat. Adrenaline spiked. I lunged forward, wrapping my arms tightly around her waist and pulling her back. "Evelyn, no!" Her tense body instantly turned to stone. "Not here," I gasped, barely able to breathe. "Don't become the monster he wants you to be right in front of him. Do not let this psycho define who you are." Evelyn's iron grip started to shake, the trembling blade drawing just a bit more blood from Vince's pale neck. "He deserves to die," she muttered, her voice breaking. "He ruined so many innocent lives. He deserves to rot in hell." "I know," I yelled back. "But not by your hands, Evelyn. Not in this dirty warehouse. And not like this." I pulled her even closer, burying my face in her shoulder. "We will call the cops. Let the law handle it." "The law?" Evelyn let out a broken, cynical laugh, dripping with absolute madness. "The law? The law locked him away for 3 measly years. And the exact second he got out, he came hunting for me, still threatening me. Still, then we bury him in a cell forever." I interrupted, my voice rock solid. "I have the evidence. Officer Ward has the evidence. We are going to make sure this scumbag never sees sunlight again, but not by turning you into a murderer, Evelyn. Not by letting you become exactly like him." Evelyn completely froze, falling into a long, agonizing silence. Then, clatter. The knife finally hit the concrete floor. She spun around and collapsed into my chest, sobbing uncontrollably. And for the first time, those weren't the tears of an assassin. They were the raw tears of a normal human being. No unhinged screaming, no killer instinct. Just pure, heartbreaking grief. She was finally crying for her traumatized 12-year-old self. Crying for those 3 brutal years locked in the dark. And crying for the broken version of herself that had just stood inches away from becoming a total monster. Vince tried to make a slick run for the door, but the police, bursting in right on cue, slammed his pathetic face straight into the dirt. Game over. Officer Ward had been listening the entire time, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When the cops moved in to slap handcuffs on Evelyn, I lunged forward. "She's the victim. She only did it to protect me." "It's just standard procedure," Officer Ward said calmly. "We need to run an investigation, but she will be fine. I promise you." Evelyn looked back at me and gave a soft smile. There was pure relief in that smile, deep gratitude, and just a faint hint of a goodbye. "Wait for me," she whispered. "This time, I will walk out on my own 2 feet. Evelyn was detained for 48 hours. The investigation results came out in a flash. It was officially ruled as justifiable self-defense, noting her massive contribution to the case by helping tear down Vince and his entire criminal syndicate. She was released with every single charge, completely cleared, but she was ordered to undergo a mandatory 6-month round of psychological therapy. I went to visit her every single day, not in some cold hospital, but at a designated rehab center. The place had a gorgeous garden, plenty of warm, bright sunlight, and other patients who looked absolutely no different from ordinary people. "I've learned something," she said as we sat together on a park bench, whispering softly. "Anger isn't strength. Before this, I used to think that rage was the absolute only thing keeping me alive. But now I know, I really know." She gently squeezed my hand. "It's tenderness. Your tenderness. Your tenderness made it so I don't need that anger anymore." I gently stroked her hair. It had grown long again, tied up in a simple ponytail, completely undyed the absolute purest shade of natural black. "What about Vince?" I asked. "A life sentence. The director got one too." Evelyn's tone was completely calm, almost as if she were telling someone else's story. "Were there other victims?" "A lot. I actually thought I was the only one. But actually," she paused, "actually there were so many. Some of them died. Some went completely insane, and some just learned to pretend to be normal, exactly like me." "You are not pretending," I said softly. "You are truly getting better." "Am I?" She tilted her head up to look at me, a deep wave of uncertainty flashing in her eyes. "The doctor said I will never be fully cured. CPTSD is lifelong, and so are the borderline personality traits. I will always be unstable. I will relapse. I will lose control. I will have the urge to hurt you, to completely control you, and to lock you away. I know you might get sick and tired of it. You might just wake up one day and realize that loving me isn't worth all this. I know that. Then why are you still here?" I thought about it for a single moment. "Because you are worth it." Evelyn's eyes instantly welled up with heavy tears. "Those words," she sobbed softly, "I will remember them for the rest of my entire life. If you ever try to take them back later, I'll. What will you do?" I challenged gently. "I will remind you." She smiled, and for once, it was a beautifully healthy smile. "I'll write in my journal, talk to my therapist, and actually communicate with you. I won't threaten you anymore. I won't stalk you anymore. I just won't." She took a long, deep breath. "I will learn to love you in a completely normal way." Exactly 1 year later, we got married. It was an incredibly intimate, small wedding with only our closest friends, my friends, and the companions Evelyn had met during her therapy. No parents were in attendance at all. Evelyn had absolutely no family left, and my parents, living out of state, attended the ceremony via a video call. Evelyn wore a breathtaking white wedding dress. She refused to look into a mirror, choosing instead to see her own reflection right in my eyes. "Do I look beautiful?" she asked nervously. "Beautiful? Truly," I said. "But not because of the dress. It's all because of you. There's a real light in your eyes now. Not that psychotic gleam," I carefully chose my words, "but real hope," Evelyn cried. But she was smiling through it. This was her brand new habit, learning how to use tears to express sheer happiness rather than crushing agony. On our wedding night, we sat out on the terrace of our brand new home. We had bought a cozy, pre-owned apartment, just a small 2-bedroom place, but it featured a stunning balcony where we could look up and see the stars. "Babe," she said, finally returning to her original pet name for me, "I have a secret." "What is it?" "I am pregnant." I froze instantly in my tracks. Evelyn carefully watched my expression, nervously adding, "I know we said we wouldn't have kids. I know all about my genes and my illness, but the doctor said I can do it. If I continue my therapy, and with your unwavering support, I can be a good mother. I can be a mother who never ever hurts her child." She looked deeply into my eyes. "Is that okay?" "I don't know, but I will try my absolute best, in a healthy way." And the way we agreed on. I pulled her in for a fiercely tight hug. "I am terrified," I admitted. "I am terrified. Our child will inherit your pain. I am terrified you'll relapse. And I am so terrified I won't be a good father." "I am scared too," she whispered. "But let's try. Let's just try." We kissed softly beneath the vast starry sky, a tiny unknown life already growing inside her womb. This might be a mistake. This might be a total disaster. This might even be the beginning of another tragic story. But right now, in this single kiss, there was only pure love. Psychotic, slightly obsessive, yet entirely, deeply real. A love where we fought like hell to choose each other. Epilogue, eternity. 5 years later, I was casually making breakfast in the kitchen. Bright, joyful laughter drifted in from the living room. Evelyn was playing with our daughter, a vibrant 3-year-old little girl who had the exact same eyes as her mother, only brighter, filled with light, and beautifully normal. Mommy, who is that person in the mirror? That's you, sweetie. But why is she doing the exact same things as me? Because she's your shadow, your best friend. You can talk to her and tell her all your secrets. Will she answer back? She will, Evelyn said softly. She'll answer right inside your heart, as long as you're willing to listen. I leaned against the doorframe, quietly watching this beautiful scene unfold. You see, Evelyn still suffered from her dark nightmares, but thankfully, they were getting few and far between. Now, she still had those intense controlling impulses, but she had finally learned to express them through words instead of taking drastic actions. She was even still terrified of mirrors, but she had learned to face them together with our daughter, turning her deepest fear into a playful game. Honestly, our marriage wasn't picture perfect. We had our bitter arguments, the freezing cold shoulders, and terrifying nights where she would completely lose control, forcing me to go for long, solitary walks in the park just to breathe. But no matter what, we would always come right back to each other. We would communicate, and we would make new promises. Daddy, our little girl ran over and tightly wrapped her arms around my leg. Mommy said we're going to the zoo today. To the zoo, huh? I scooped her right up and glanced over at Evelyn. My wife walked over, naturally leaning her head against my shoulder. She had cut her hair short again, dyeing it this striking silvery gray. She said she wanted to commemorate the wild version of herself from our very beginning. Babe, she whispered softly, her voice so low that only I could hear. Thank you for not running away from me back then. And thank you, I replied with a smirk, for not actually locking me away in a dark basement. She smiled, and in that smile, I saw the lingering madness, the deep tenderness, and a promise of eternity. And, what about when time passes? She suddenly asked. When we get old, and you can't run away from me anymore. I'll, what will you do? I teased. What will you do? I'll make you sweet and sour ribs every single day, she declared, the extra savory kind, so you will remember my taste. Forever. I just gently kissed her forehead. Outside our window, the weather was absolutely beautiful. Our daughter was laughing brightly, and breakfast was sizzling nicely in the pan. It was just an ordinary morning, an ordinary life, and an ordinary, quiet kind of happiness. But for a girl like Evelyn, this was an absolute miracle. And for me, it was a conscious choice. We chose each other, choosing a messy future where deep pain and profound healing perfectly coexist. We chose to dance right on the razor's edge of the abyss, rather than plummeting down into the dark. This is our story. It's definitely no fairy tale, but it's not a tragedy, either. It's just two incredibly broken people, using every single ounce of their strength to piece together a complete, beautiful little world of our very own. Just the three of us,